Hi guys, this is Alex Costa from ANR Design, and we are back finally with the ANR Design Unholstered podcast. Today, our guest is John Dufresne. He's the owner of Kinetic Consulting. You guys have seen him on Instagram, Mocha Bear underscore actual. He puts out so much amazing content on night vision, illumination, and stuff to do in the dark. But he's also a big firearms instructor. He works with Sage Dynamics on that side of things. But I'm going to let John take it away, explain his principal business and his specialties within what he teaches and what he's allowed to teach, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Cool. So John Dufresne, owner of Kinetic Consulting. I teach primarily, but I also do a lot of consulting for different companies as well as different agencies and also like private security firms and things like that. So the consulting side actually gets a little too busy sometimes. So the teaching side gets a little bit of I would say like it gets more lackadaisical at a certain point because I get too busy with consulting. But it's a lot of fun. So it's there's a lot of little facets to the company, and that's what I like about it. I get bored really easy, so I'm always like doing stuff and trying to be a little bit more active about about my life. So can't sit there and just do one thing and only stay to that one thing. Also, I'm always trying to get better, right? So the motto of my company is "Do Better," because I'm always trying to progress, and that's the mindset I try to go into the majority of things and try to bring people with me into that same mindset, is to do better with whatever you're doing. So if you're the top of your game and the top of whatever level of whatever you're doing, there's still a level better, right? Like like even at the top there's still something better than you, so you can or you can get better from there. So why not try and achieve it? And that's kind of like the look I have on things, and that's between consulting and also on the training side, how that all meshes into the way that I see myself. And as a student myself, all the time, going out to classes, trying to learn more, trying to get better as a teacher as well as a student and just a person in general. Because if you're a shit person, it doesn't matter what you do, in my opinion, you're a shit person. So trying to better all that stuff is really the antithesis of everything I do at this point.
Cool. So you do a lot of night vision stuff on your YouTube. That's kind of like one of those places where I'm like, okay, hey, I'm setting up a new helmet. What's John doing, right? And I kind of bounce back and forth. I was torn between your articulating light setup and then SNS Precisions, but I'm running.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of go back and forth. I had to mod my helmet for the SNS Precision, or mod the actual SNS Precision articulation, but I did buy one of yours to put on a different helmet to fuck around with. But so in at least let's talk about teaching side real quick. So this is normal. Any student civs can sign up for these classes, and you're teaching up to a certain level that you can actually teach civs. And what's your favorite things to teach? Is it night vision, low light, no light?
It's hard to say. I get that question actually pretty often. Like, what's your favorite class to teach? I want to go to that class. And truthfully, like if I didn't like teaching it, I wouldn't teach it. So I actually like teaching everything. One of the classes that I teach that is a lot of fun, and I think opens up people's eyes to like a different side of things, because there's a lot of science and behavioral science in it, is my weaponized geometry classes. Um, and it's more of a one man course, right? I don't like calling it a one man CQB or one man, building clearing or anything like that. It's a tactics course for sure, but you're really just learning how to work around geometry and using a weapon, and working by yourself in the intricacies to dealing with that. And it sucks. It's a straight up soup sandwich if you don't do it right, and it's very easy to get yourself killed. But understanding it and understanding the behaviors behind it and stuff like that, and then also how humans need certain things to be successful in those kind of environments, is what I really like about it. And just the people that come to those classes are coming because they're like, all right, what can I do against people? Because it's not a piece of paper anymore. It's not a piece of steel. So all your range training, if you want to call it that, or flat range based stuff, is now put to the test to an extent, because I don't teach you how to grip a gun in that class, and I don't have time. That's the sad part about it, but I don't have enough time to do that. So if you came with a really low level of subconscious competence, you're going to perform at a low level. That's just what it is. No level of me giving you a pat on the back and it's going to be okay, buddy, is going to like get you to a fundamentally sound human being that can, fire a gun accurately using your sighting system and still now implement the tactics as well as all the behavioral science stuff that's happening to you. So it's a lot of work, but it's such a good class for people to open up their eyes and kind of see what the world really gives you when you're starting to fight another person that also has behavioral factors, also is scared to a certain extent, also has certain skill levels to them. And the cool part is you're usually going against students that also understand the tactics and also understand the or train. So they you're going against your hardest opponent in the class to test your skills against them. You're not I don't bring like high school kids in and I'm like, go run amok, guys. Like it's straight up like you're going against dudes that are literally at your level or not, or above it, depending on what you're doing. So it's really cool. And that's one of my favorite things, is that a lot of people leave that class with a whole notebook of things that they need to work on, not just like, oh, this is what I learned and this is the drill we're going to do, and none of that stuff. It's more like, I fucked up here. I messed up this. John said do better here. Like all the cool things that come up. It's one of my favorite things at the end of class, where they're like, man, I need to work on this shit. And I'm like, yeah, don't suck so much. Like you can do better. So it's a really cool class. But that's one of my favorite things to, I guess, if you wanted to put like something above the rest, one of my favorites to teach.
And that's a force on force class for people listening.
Yeah. So the first day is like force on paper. The second day is force on force. Okay. And it's all like, there's no scenarios. Like it's literally just working the geometry and against humans at a certain point.
Like pick a student. You're like, okay, go hide in this room. Right.
Well, I kind of set them up in advantageous spots, but I also don't set up like ambushes and stuff. That's stupid. Okay. But like in ways that if the student that's going through is a good person or the good guy, the role players are able to either take advantage of mistakes or take advantage of them stepping too far into things or something like that. Because it's not scenario based. There's no like de-escalation. There's no like, all right, bro, you're going to go save your parents. Like, no, I don't care if you live in your mom's basement. Like, that's not what we're doing right now. Like we're just learning how to work around the geometry of things. It's actually really, it's really basic, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
But it's so hard for most people to like grasp. It's a lot of fun to deal with. And then weaponized geometry 2 is where we start setting in low light stuff. Okay. I guess that's one of my favorite things, is playing in the dark.
Yeah.
And then stepping right into scenarios right after that. Yeah. So you really get, between the two classes, you get a really good gambit of what you're kind of dealing with, and from just understanding the geometry and basics of like behavioral science and what could and will and most likely happen to you, to all the way to the point where you're able to make decisions whether you want to get yourself into the situation or not. And it's a lot of fun. And in different varied lighting situations, it's a good class with the two in conjunction.
Yeah. It's funny. I just did not a force on force, but I just did a room clearing thing. Something that's not taught. Go to another training school locally, and I got a buddy a very wealthy friend that fucking throws down big money every year, and I kind of tag along to all his classes, and we get to do some high level shit, which is a lot of fun. But it was like a Connex town, and we're breaking into this long hallway. There's another long hallway with 4 doors. They're still like building it, but it was one of those situations where it's like, all right, if there's a bad dude here, he's going to be in that dark one all the way at the back corner, so that when you break that threshold, he's going to fucking whack you. Like you can like how much can you pie of the room, and it's one of those. We're talking to the instructor, and my buddy Jay was teaching the class, and he's like, dude, bad dude's gonna go here. Like when you see these long dark rooms, you know exactly where they're gonna be, and he has experience in Afghanistan, Iraq, and he's just like, you kind of the behavioral science and the psychology of like, you know, it kind of, you almost go back to your fundamental self as a kid. Like, where's the darkest, longest, hardest to find hole?
Where would you hide?
And then add a gun to it and be like, all right, wow, fucking second someone comes through here, you get whacked. And committing to those entries and fucking and then the scenario, is it hostage rescue, is it just, you know, low and slow clearing, or you just, is it post-apocalyptic and you're with another buddy and you're just slowly clearing?
All depends.
And it's like, yeah, like how fast, like that's one of the questions that I used to ask, is like, how fast should I go, right? It's like, well, if we're up to CAG standards, you know, he got taught at Bragg. He's like, oh, if this is CAG standards, you know, you're fucking, there's no chill. You guys are just hitting every room as fast as fucking possible, and drop shots are you're off the team kind of deal. So we, you know, he pushed us to some of that shit. But it's like, no, if this is post-apocalyptic, it's yourself, if it's you and a buddy, you want to hit this as slow as fucking possible. You know, you're just trying to find medical supplies or whatever the fuck you can find.
Don't rush to your death kind of thing.
Yeah, and yeah, doing it alone, I couldn't imagine doing it alone. Like we had 3 dudes in this one hallway, and like 3 wasn't enough, because it was like breaking into a small room, then a long hallway, then another like room that you could see, they were like windowed so you could see all of it, and then there was another dark threshold behind it. And I came in fast, and where I stopped to hold the hallway so that they could set up on the next door, I was like line of sight through 2 entryways, and I was like, fuck.
So doing things by yourself is like, there's a certain limit of what you can do, but at the same time, because it's so much more risky, the risks you take to do it by yourself, you're already playing at like more of a high risk level, if you want to play it, or if you want to like put it at that kind of point. But what ends up happening is like there's a lot of give and take. Like at a certain point, I have to give my back to things. It's just how far can I go before I have to do that kind of stuff in certain spots. It's really cool. I actually had a guy who'd been on a pretty high level team for about 20 something years, came through the class and was like, dude, I kind of wish I knew this shit before I did team stuff, you know, and it gave me a perspective I didn't think about, but because I learned one man stuff after team stuff.
Right.
And it gave me a perspective, or it sparked a thought, if you want to say. It made me think, like, I was like, well, that's actually like really viable, because if I'm able to do the majority of tasks by myself, and then I just add a second dude, like, fuck yeah, I got the whole world now. So it's actually really cool. And I started playing around with the concept, and played with like 3 dudes that I know that don't have any tactics based training at all, and taught them all one man stuff, and then put them as a team one day. And it was really cool to see them like kind of work together, and how good they were at like watching angles and paying attention to like what was opening to what. It was really interesting. It was I was mainly just guinea pigging them and kind of using them like, you know, just go, let's see what happens, guys, you know,
Right.
and giving them role players at certain points. It was cool. It was a fun little like experiment for me, but just prove that point as well. It's like that teaching the one man stuff actually helped a lot of the team based stuff for them.
That's cool. I saw on Ed Calderon's page, he had this, like, sometimes when he goes to hotels, he's got the little alarm, the portable alarms for the doors. And I'm thinking, like, dude, if I was doing one man clearing shit, like one time use those with like stick on adhesive, you clear a room, you come in through like an entrance, shut the door, lock it behind you, stick that to the door. Cause like one thing people don't consider is like, cool, you're like running through a house, but you know, there could be dudes outside waiting that are going to go in behind you. So like my head's like, I'm so fucking paranoid already. I'm like, oh, I want a fucking booby trap behind me. Someone does punch behind me out of a room that I cleared. Like,
I need a Claymore Roomba.
Yeah, right. We have one at the shop. We have a Makita Roomba at the shop, and we taped a Claymore to it.
Nice.
But It got me started thinking like, man, if shit hits a fan, I want like 40 of those in a go bag with pre-set up with 3M adhesive. Like if I have to clear houses by myself, I might, and you've already gone or walked around and surveyed the area, you're completely fine, maybe not. But if it was like one of those, like you're in an urban environment and there are people moving around, like fuck, I might start trapping doors.
I mean, that's not a bad thought. I think it would be see, I always have this like weird thought process. I'm like, all right, cool. Like in an apocalyptic world, like I just need to get my group together, right? If I can get my group together, we can do this. Like we got enough dudes, enough knowledge, enough different, I guess, understanding of certain subjects. Like we got a doctor, we got a pilot, and we got a few other dudes that do different things, dentists. I'm like, we could do this. Like we can make this work, I think. And everybody's a solid fucking shooter. Just tactician wise, it's like we're still working on those.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. I mean, I don't want to do shit by myself, man. That's why like I tell my buddies all the time, if I can help them with something or like help their business or help them get better at something or whatever, like it doesn't matter. I'm a big fan of the concept of a rising tide raises all boats.
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't want to be at the top by myself. That's fucking lonely, Like,
Right.
but if I bring a bunch of people that I love and care and will support me as much as I support them, I don't see a problem with that at all.
Yeah.
So that's where I always look at it. I'm like, all right, we got a rally point. We just gotta get to the rally point. And once we get there, we just make sure those are our dudes. And yeah, it's easy. Like, all right, cool. It's a green chem light. Roger that. Like or that's a green and a blue flipping around. Cool. We know that, whatever it is. That
Right.
And it makes it a lot easier versus like, let me do this all by myself.
No.
By far.
No, this isn't Terminal List with Chris Pratt. Chill the fuck out. And that's another thing. Like, it's really humbling when you do like
we were friends,
like,
then.
It's true, but a sniper in a fucking lighthouse in the middle of a fucking river ain't doing what you're doing. But it's just like I train with these two guys pretty regularly, and we do these structure clearing, and I'm just like, man, we need like 5 more dudes minimum, right? And then we need like people pulling perimeter, and our circle is too small. Now our circle's big. We have I don't want to give away too much, but we all have satellite phones.
Mm-hmm.
They're all paid for.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a network of people on these phones that we have our team. Like we know there's enough contacts on the sat phone that some shit hits the fan, cell phone service goes down. We got sat phone.
Never talks, bro, but I need a friend.
it's like yo, here's our RV point, and everyone important to that my buddy is in these phones, and it's like okay, he already has a place for an RV, and we're just like, all right, cool, but only 3 of us train together, and everyone else is usually like a soft dude or whatever in his phone because he's made a lot of friends. And but it's only the 3 of us that train together. I'm like, dude, we need like 5 more fucking people that take this seriously because shit pops off. 3 of us aren't clearing a fucking structure that's even like 3,200 square feet. Like I'd rather fucking not. Like just
you could do it, but I'd want more people.
Yeah, a lot. We want to make more holes.
I'm a big fan of bigger groups, right? If I can, that's where like down here where I live, I've conglomerated a good sized group of dudes and dudettes even that are very like-minded, very well into training. Like we fill up classes by ourselves. Like if I want to host somebody, I'm like, hey man, can you put on a class here at this date for me? And they're like, yeah, sure. Are you gonna be able to get enough students? I'm like, gotcha. Because we can fill up the whole class as long as we all have the time off and stuff.
Because it's like an opportunity for them to fucking chill and work on your teamwork. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then to learn or play with different layouts, we will every once in a while Airbnb a place and just work that for the night, and it's kind of cool. So daytime stuff, and then go right into darkness and do some like no low light, but like no light. So it's a little bit harder, but gives you a different aspect to how you can actually work with certain things. It's a lot of fun.
That's super cool.
Yeah, because I figured if we use a lot of white lights in an Airbnb with the lights off, people are gonna wonder. So
right.
Either lights are all on, curtains are just closed, or or the actual lights are all off and curtains are closed and we play around. So I don't need no nosy neighbors.
All right,
But
so I'm taking notes as we go. Right, so get better is your go-to, and
do
you're
better.
in your for do better, get better.
Well, the whole do better thing came up because and because I'm constantly going to classes, I'm always trying to like see new things and always try to learn new things, right? Like I I have this little like this mission in life, right? And my mission in life is to be happy. It's that simple. Like nothing nothing complicated. Like gotta be the protector of my realm or like nothing fancy, dude. It's I just gotta be happy, man. I just want to be happy. So to do that though, I have to figure out what makes me happy. And what I found out is like I like having fun. I like just doing fun things. Like you want to go white water rafting, I'm down. Right? You want to go kayaking, I'm down. Those things are fun to me, right? I want like we want to jump out of airplanes. Fun. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go have fun. But that and then I really enjoy learning things. I like for whatever reason I'm one of those weird nerds that took a sheet of paper to school, folded up in my pocket with a pen and my skateboard, and I got A's. And I don't know how. I don't know. It just made sense to me when I looked at the test. I was like, "That's probably the answer." Circle. Just scantroning my way through it, and I just for whatever reason I knew the answers based off of just common knowledge and reading the book every once in a while. So I enjoy learning. I enjoy learning things. And one of the things I'll do is go to these classes every year. And I go to about, I'd say around 12 to 18 classes a year. I think it is. Like it's around in that range. Sometimes it's 11, sometimes it's like 19 or some shit. But I go to a lot of classes to learn. And not only to like go there and like augment an instructor or help them or anything like that, because I do those as well. But I go mainly because I'm like, I just want to learn something new. Like, give me what you got. I want to know. And a lot of times I don't get a ton of shit. It's not like an avalanche of information for me. Most of the time I'm looking for those little tiny nuggets that are like, bro, that's gold. I never thought of that. I love it. I've never heard of that before, or I never experienced that, so I would have known that. So it's like those people's experiences have given them certain knowledge that I'll never have because it's based off of an experience, right? Whether it's a competitive shooter and he just learned in a certain match, he was just doing something. He was like, motherfucker, I could do math in my head. And then whatever it is. And then, or if it's like some soft guy that's like, all right, man. So there's this one time and I'm like, oh, you know what? That makes sense. So, for this one thingamabobby. So any kind of experience can teach you something, but you can't learn those things unless you've experienced it. So you have to learn it from the people that have experienced it to an extent. That's why I'm never ending trying to find out and learn more about things, because I'll never know everything because I haven't had all the experiences and I haven't, I don't know everything. So there's no way I would. Also, it keeps me out of that dogmatic thought process that you see fall into a lot of mostly agencies and big companies, right? Like big agencies and stuff like that, and even the military. By far the military. There's a lot of dogma that falls into the training, and they're like, you always hear the same sayings, you always hear them say the same shit, and you're like, bro, this is just straight out of the fucking book, and it's out of some dude's fucking binder that made it 16 years ago, and you're still reading the same crap, but you've never learned anything new, or you haven't experienced anything new to change your mind about that one or that binder in its entirety. Not to say that everything's wrong, but like there's probably a lot in there. Like, I still every once in a while, like I go and augment an agency's rifle course. And they're like, yeah, we just want you to go through it as a student. And then I do like a whole report, right? Like I write an entire like 3-4 page report on it and give goods, bads, uglies, instructor feedback, things like that. And one of the things I heard one of the instructors say was like, oh man, you never put your mag on the ground because it'll just induce malfunctions. I'm like, bitch, I'll shoot this whole fucking 30 rounds, full mag, not 28. I'll shoot this full 30 rounds out of this gun from the mag being dug into this fucking ground.
Yeah.
Oh, concrete will do it. Grass will do it. Dirt will do it. I'll guarantee it. Guaranteed. So his mind was sitting there for so long that I literally brought him to the side and I was like, hey man, you know that's not true, right? You just gave them a falsity, right? Like you kind of fucked their brains right there, and inputted bad information. They're gonna output that same bad information one day.
Yeah.
And he was like, whoa, bro, like, have you tried it? I'm like, fucking every week, literally every week. So I showed him. I literally got down and I blazed through an entire mag, and I was like, I didn't see a malfunction. He's like, that's probably just your gun. I'm like, give me your gun. I'll use one of my other mags, right? I'm like, I'll just keep going. I'll just give me another one. Give me another mag. I'll do it with another mag. It doesn't matter. It's gonna work most likely, like 99.9% of the time.
I mean,
so
it's fucking cans, dude. You shoot cans, you pull the mag out, it's fucking destroyed. It's already corroding. Like, you pull the fucking mag out. That's pretty fucking terrible. Yeah. And the gun runs. Like, shush.
Easily.
It's like not to name names, but in a good way. And I've seen some really good positivity on like social media, right? So you got Fred from Spiritus, Counting Coup Tactical. He did a post where he's like, he said, don't leave your mags loaded 28 rounds or the springs will wear out. And then people politely educated him, and he came back and said, I fucked up. Because I remember the story from Drake from Magpul. Drake had a fucking Gen 1 mag jammed to the top, 30 rounds in the fucking under his seat of his truck for like 4 years. And they ran that gun, they ran that P mag Gen 1. They ran the ammo that was in it, and then they ran it a bunch of times, and no fucking problems. Like, modern day springs don't have the issue. Same thing with Grantham. He did a whole thing like 28 rounds only, and he backpedaled and said, okay, fuck, that's we like to call it FUD lore, at least on like the LGS side of things. We call it FUD lore. And
I just call it dogmatic stuff.
Right? I like dogmatic. It sounds
it's more of the actual like it's a word with a definition that means what you guys are doing or what they're doing.
Yeah, and it's good that these guys are like open to actually listening. Like, oh my god, no, I'm wrong. It's not a big deal. I'm doing some shit for the gram, but I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to backpedal. I'm willing to like correct, how we do things.
That's one of the bigger things that you'll see. Out of like a professional person, right? You see the ones that get upset and they're like, "Well, fuck you, bro. Go. I have this many years of this thing and this whatever." Like, what you're telling me by saying all that is that you're a little child and that I hurt your ego and that you don't understand that ego isn't your amigo, right? And that's from Chuck Pressburg. When he said that one day in a class, I took a class in January, and when he said that, I was like, I love it. I'm totally stealing that, but I'll cite you, right? Like, when he's like, take it, bro. I was like, yeah, because ego is not your amigo in any fucking way. He is not there to be like, I got you. No, he's there to be like, hey, that guy just fucking attacked your dick size. Like, right. No, he didn't. He just said that, hey man, no, modern guns and modern mags, it ain't no big deal. Like, you're fine, bud. But the other thing to go along with that mag thing, by the way, is all you got to do is look at or talk to an engineer that works around springs. And springs don't deteriorate by being compressed. They deteriorate by cycles.
Right.
So they have to go through cycles to actually deteriorate at a greater rate. So it's actually kind of funny, but that's another nerd shit.
Yo, John, do you know my background? You actually? No,
for real, I don't.
I went to school for mechanical engineering. I got a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and then I went to school for a master's in business. And when I started hitting the point, I was about to graduate, and I had 3 classes left, and I got laid off from my job because they had a 33% layoff. And then when I went back to school, I had 9 more classes to finish, and so I did 3 more. And then I was just like, "This is fucking stupid." I ended up dropping back out of school, and this was my second time going back to grad school. I was like, fuck this shit. Like, I'm sick of fucking professors that have failed businesses teaching classes about business. It's not cool. Like, why did your business fail? And they won't tell you because they're embarrassed. But they're a fucking effigy at this college, and you're just like, dude, fuck you. Like, my company is hyper successful. We've never reported a loss. We've had nothing but 75% growth since day one. And you're teaching a class on how to be a successful business entrepreneur? I'm out. So I dropped out of school. I said, fuck it. I can't. There was like a 10-year statute of limitations for credits to drop off. Came back at year 8 and they knocked off like 6 credits. They're like, oh, we don't do this anymore. And they're like, oh, well, it's the Board of Education that controls us. I was like, fuck you. You're a private institution. You can honor these credits I fucking paid $3,000 a class for. They're like, no, sorry. I was like, fuck this shit. So I was out. But that's my background. I worked in population control. So I worked at a company in New Hampshire called Pitco. Friolator is to fryer as Kleenex is to tissue. So they have the trademark on Friolator. And I design fryers for Popeyes, KFC, Yum Brands. And I don't eat French fries anymore because they used to do shoestring McDonald's fries for life cycle testing and efficiency testing. And 80% cooked McDonald's fries is considered cooked. And the Eng techs used to bring out trays of fries at 7 a.m. and all the creatures would come out of their cubicles and put mayonnaise and have breakfast fries. And I'm like, fucking can't touch fried. I don't eat Popeye's chicken anymore because I did calisthenics testing, which means you have to like bite into 5,000 pieces of chicken and taste the fat and taste this. Dude, fucking horrible. But I used to design fryers, and my favorite was like design fryers for the Middle East because there was no fucking lockouts or restrictions or like, yo, you're in dish dash sandals, you're gonna get melted by fucking hot oil. I don't care, dude. This thing's a ticking time bomb. Like, I can't wait to send this to you. But I got out of that. Then I went radial. I worked for a company that did radial axle seals for engines. So the rubber seals that keep oil in, keep dirt out. I'll never buy a Dodge. Should say that. But I was the only warranty engineer for 44 million seals produced a year, and I was the one that would have to sit on a microscope, cross-section seals, analyze particulate material that might have caused the seal to fail, send it to the lab, analyze it, write reports. And I fucking hated my life.
Sound like they suck.
They suck. Honestly though, the Friolator job was cool as fuck because I showed up and they're like, yo dude, here's 60,000 fucking CAD files. We need you to finish this Friolator that you have no idea what the fuck you're doing. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I learned sheet metal. Sheet metal's cool because we have a Kinetic company. So bending plastic, bending sheet metal, there's certain radiuses you can take. So I love that job, but I have ADHD, unmedicated, and I use music to keep myself dialed in. And when I was there, they took music away. They said no more headphones for the engineers, design engineers. And I was like, I'm gonna go fucking retarded. And I did. I started making fucking little mistakes. My boss was rubber stamping my shit because it was always perfect. It took music away, my shit suffered, and that bummed me out. That was actually a pretty kick-ass job because I get to go to like restaurants and shit and see projects that I worked on. I was there. I was actually one of their thermal engineers, so I went to FLIR school for thermal, and I learned thermal long before I owned thermal. Which is also rad. So
that's actually cool. That's a cool experience. See, that's what I was talking about. Like the experiences that people have.
Loved it.
Different. So,
metal on metal. Actuators, solenoids, lubricated by hot fry oil. Like, dude, guns are just human applied lubricant with metal on metal. Like, always obsessed with watches, fucking guns, and cars. So, that's just my background. So now you know.
Man shit.
But yeah, I just like that dumb, well, most people think it's dumb, but I just like, finding solutions to problems. So, and things that people don't know that we do. So you see like our Instagram presence, you see like, okay, we run some guns, we do some shit, we post some fucking holsters with dicks on them, whatever it is. But we do a lot with soft.
I saw the MCX holster or rifle holder or whatever you guys were going to call it, but that's kind of cool concept though.
That's been around for 3 years, dude, on our website with the NATO stock. But no one sees it.
No.
That was a project that we did for a tier 1 unit in EU, and it was actually for their bag. They had a particular bag design for the Rattler, and they wanted a way to the Rattler's heavy, and they wanted a way to hold it parallel to the zipper underneath because it was a bottom zipper bag. So they didn't want the gun falling out the bottom. but they wanted to go underneath because it's more covert to drop a gun underneath a bag rather than reaching into a bag. Smart.
Okay.
Well, it is smart, but Rattler's fucking heavy as fuck. How do you stage a zipper without it peeling open a zipper on the bottom? So we created that clamp. Well, we went a step further. Actually, recently, like literally last week, I was like, oh my God, we need a standoff device for this so that it doesn't collapse into itself. So I 3D printed a block off that replaced 2 of the bushings, and I can run with that thing and it no longer sinks into the holster. So the unit that we built it for was like, hey, we need fucking 50 of these mods immediately, because this was the issue that we're having. And people don't understand like low vis shit. Like I had some guys comment like, oh, you need to come up with a harness system for their PDW. I was like, yo, if you know any old school CAG dudes or Euro fucking tier 1 dudes, bungee cords and ranger tape gets the job done. I'm sure you've seen it.
That's how I used to keep my shotgun. That was my lanyard for a shotgun, was a bungee cord that I had 100-mile-per-hour tapes with 2 carabiners.
Twisted in the back, figure 8 around your shoulders, and you can pass it either way, right?
Yeah.
So we developed that. It works fucking great. Today I put it on a new backpack that I helped develop for a company called ET Gear Co. And it supports the weapon system. It has a little shot cord up top. So my buddy Timmy, myself, and Dustin, owner of Coltac, kind of collabed on it's ET Gear Co.'s bag. It's my buddy Timmy's bag. He sells it on his website, but it's like a JanSport style backpack that has a Tegris insert that's lined into the bag, so you can hang your PDW on it. Nice thing is, the way I have it set up is I have the I'll show you here. It's here. I finished it today because I had to do it because I got my sample bag today. But that same holster system is at the bottom of the bag, which I won't be able to show. But at the top, I just have a little shot cord
to retain the top end
through the Tegris to retain the top end. So if you need to get to it, you just pull it off the top.
You can easily make a tab for that too. That's easy.
Yeah, and it's already cut for this, and then you can just slide your gun out. And then the holster retains it in the bottom of the bag. But the cool thing about the bag is they made the back panel of the bag load bearing to the shoulders. So I got my can, I've got the SRD can on it in another bungee cord, so it's suspended, so it's not rolling around clinking. And the bag looks empty when you're carrying it.
Cool.
So you don't have something sagging and pulling the bag down. And this bag's their XL, so you can fit a lot of shit in it. So they're coming out with a skinnier bag, closer to a proper JanSport size. So if you throw in some extra loose shit, it still looks fairly empty and it's not carrying something heavy. And I was walking around with it today at the shop and went to go get lunch with it, and damn, dude, it's fucking smart. The problem is you get a tier 1 unit that rolls out with 50 of this, what most tier 1 units, 250 to 350 dudes at the end of the day, spread out between the squadrons. They all have the same bag, not good. So
at least vary some colors and patching and stuff like that.
Change up the zipper locations, get rid of logos.
Add a little leather to this, add a little leather to that.
Change
it, make them look completely different.
I think this is a really good foundation for a low vis bag.
No, I like it. I mean, especially for something specific like that. I think some people think that a good example here is when I used to do some EP work in other countries. I couldn't bring a gun to Mexico or Brazil or anything like that. There's no transference of a firearm there. So what I ended up doing was I would just get a local firearm. Well, I don't know what I'm going to get, and I don't know what they're going to offer me if they are going to offer me anything. So I used to bring one of those fucking Uncle Mike's holsters that I just went ahead and modified a little bit with a little bit of sewing and stuff. It's probably sitting in a bin somewhere here, but it's literally just this modified piece of crap holster, but it was better than shoving it in my pocket or pants. And it was just literally well, I don't know what I'm going to get, so we'll see. Like sometimes it was a fucking revolver. Like sometimes it's just a straight up Browning high power. Like I'm like, all right, cool. Like, but that's also one of my things is like your fundamentals are all transferable. So it really doesn't matter as long as you just put the time into playing around with it a little bit. But people have these problems. They're like, oh well, I'm a Glock guy and that's it, or I can't touch Glocks because they're always low and left from me, or whatever their fucking shenanigans are. And I'm like, y'all are thinking too small, right? Like your brains are thinking too small. You gotta think bigger, man. Like or broader, right? Wider, if you want to call it that. And it's just like there's so much more out there of things that you can get yourself into. So it's always interesting. But yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, do you spend time on other weapon systems purposefully to familiarize yourself? And before you answer the question, there's a lot of times where my buddy Calvin, he Firepower United on Instagram, he runs his guns and he comes off the trigger. And I come off, like when I review stuff, other than like precision rifle, I come off the trigger a lot because I switch between AKs, all kinds of shit. I've been getting into Makarovs lately, which I gotta like hook the trigger, and the whole sight picture is wild. But you know, your core fundamentals on trigger press, you know, you get a lot of I get a lot of hate on Instagram where someone sees me come off trigger, but it's like, yo, I'll show you my paper and that shit is dialed in. And it's because I'm banging the trigger right where the bone is, so it's not so spongy, and I know my trigger press. It's okay if I come off the fucking trigger. I'm still getting the job done.
So let me draw it for you.
Yes.
Grab a sheet of paper here. So realistically, it don't matter, right? But it depends. So give me one segundo. So I don't know if you could see this.
There it is. Perfect.
There we go. So what you're seeing here is a little graph that I use to describe trigger press and other shenanigans when it comes to it in relation to grip and distance. And I like to doodle on targets. I do a lot of doodling in my classes to show people different things. But what you see here is how trigger doesn't fucking matter all that much at 5 yards, but grip still fucking matters. Right. And then from there, trigger gets more important as we get further and further out. And then obviously it starts to plateau and become pretty damn important, just as well as your grip is at further distances and stuff, because you do have to put a certain amount of, actual press or what you're giving it at a certain point to get what you're wanting. So like if people are watching you shoot fast and you're shooting it at like 7, 5, whatever yards, who gives a shit? Like it doesn't matter as much as when I'm back there at like 25 and 30 and 40 and 55 and shit like that. Like that's where it matters the most, because that's where I need to really pay attention to it. But I'm not going to be shooting fast enough to even feel my finger come off the trigger at that point. Right. I'll be cognizant of it more. It's going to be more on the frontal lobe of what I'm thinking about versus on the back burner. Like most of us are shooting up close. If you're a practice shooter, like you're not thinking about trigger presses when you're at 5 yards, like, or if you are still, like, you just need to make that more subconscious at a certain point. You need more practice. But if you're thinking, okay, sights there, that's really what I'm seeing. That's what's causing this guy to do his thing, and these guys are doing their thing as I'm doing it all together. And I don't have to think about grip, trigger. Like I need to pay attention to where my sight is. And once that goes into my acceptable target zone of whatever that size is for that distance, then my body needs to know how to activate whatever I'm activating to make that happen. So I use that graph to kind of show it, because grip matters. In my opinion, it's paramount that you have good grip. But what matters the most is that you understand how sloppy and how not sloppy you can be on trigger when it comes to different distances, because that's where it's going to matter. Right. Senior sloppy McSloppies and they want to slap a trigger or lose contact with the trigger. at distance, you may have issue, but really, like, if you're only shooting one round, who gives a fuck?
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't matter. So if I'm trying to make good follow-ups and try to keep like 10 rounds in a nice B8 or something, it probably matters a little bit more, but realistically, it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, I mean, the internet's going to internet, man. It always will.
It's one of those things too. Like, so I shoot PRS, and we have a on-site media guy, and he comes with me to these matches, and I'm shooting like a PRS stage, so timed, fast, 8 positions, 2 shots at each, or sorry, 8 shots, 4 positions, 2 shots at each position at 400 to 420 yards.
So PRS barricade.
Yep, standard PRS barricade. It's
so sounded like.
Yeah. So sorry for those who are listening. It's just a standard PRS barricade. And it's always timed, because at traditional PRS matches, the difference between 21st and first is 5 points, 5 impacts. And that's what happened last time. I got 21, 6 impacts from fucking first, and I can tell you every fucking drop shot. Anyway, so I shot a PRS barricade this past week, or past 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago, and I did it in 43 and a half seconds, which is fast.
That was pretty fast. Yeah.
I was third fastest. I actually beat my target was this dude Jan from Canada. He's an insane PRS shooter. He's usually like in the 30s for a PRS barricade, and I shoot 6.5 Creedmoor out of Kelbleys. I'm switching over to 6 Gauge Tiger because I found.
What's he shooting? Like,
I think he's shooting like 6 BR.
Of course.
Yeah. So
it's either that or a dasher, and I'm like, those motherfuckers.
Or SXC or 6 SXC or Creed, but I'm switching over 6mm Gauge Tiger because Hornady through GA Precision is finally production. And so I got my I had a Schillen barrel cut in 2019 into 2020 for 6GT, and then COVID happened and I couldn't get 6GT. And then someone's like, I was at this last match and everyone's shooting 6GT. I was like, where the fuck are you guys getting ammo? And they're like, oh bro, fucking Hornady through GA Precision. And I'm like, okay. Bought fucking $5,000 in ammo the next day. And I was like, oh cool, I got the Schillen barrel for my Terminus action, done. Nice. And I shoot Kelbleys, but I feel bad because I ripped out a barrel out of Kelbleys for 6.5 by 47 Lapua, and I was like, oh, I'll switch to that. But 6GT got that. I'm just waiting for my go gauge so I can time my barrel. But
yeah,
these are all shooting it. I'm just pissed because there are some stages where 6.5 Creedmoor. I was running gold medal match, 130 burger. It's running 3K out the muzzle, which is hot.
That's
130, hot, yeah. Like wind doesn't do shit. But the problem is when you're magged in. I run a 70-35. When I'm magged in and I'm in some like free recoil shooting or something like that, like, I'm missing my impacts. Like when I drop a shot, especially if I don't have a splashback, it's like, oh, I don't even know what my fucking correction is.
That's why I don't do any kind of free recoiling. I never do.
I try not to. But there's times you fucking have to. And I manage, so I run a pint-sized game changer up front, wax bag, sand fill. Yeah. And I can that's like the one front end bag you ever need. You don't need anything else. You can literally shoot every match with that in a cuddle bag. Yeah, so that in a cuddle bag, you're good to go.
I actually don't use any cuddle bags for PRS.
You're a fucking savage.
I'm in the thought process of like, let me do this shit hard and see what I can do and I can perform. And I never get up there in the top 10 in any way, but I'm like, I'm doing really well. So I'm just playing around with it, but I've been shooting 308 in PRS too.
Yeah, that's cool because you shoot tactical and then you're competing with 3 other people.
yeah. I'm always looking at the overall. Like I want to see what the overall is, but I borrowed a friend's dasher one time. Fuck me, dude. It was like, I don't even have to try. Like fuck skill. Fuck skill.
Yeah. I'm a little skeptical going to a 2950 109 compared to a 3K 130.
You'll be fine.
I know I'm gonna be fine. It's just gonna be a fucking pussy fart compared to that 6.5 Creedmoor. And my gun's like, yeah. My gun, I mean, I'm running like a 25-pound gun already from Kelbleys, but my black bear with like 8,000 rounds through it, action up, you just tip it and it just like glass slides out. I'm like,
that's nice.
and
It's how
the
my
thing
Pika is right now, dude.
and it extracts like 10 feet. And if you I'll send you a link to a video that from my last match, dude. I'm running that bolt. I run the bolt way too fast. I move through stages too quick. Like, even when I think I'm slow as fuck, I still have 20 seconds on the clock. I'm like, fuck me. And I would have been top 10. There was a 1,300 yard stage and I forgot to dial. Like, I straight up forgot to dial. Like, you moron. That's had 40 minutes on stage to mentally prep for this. You get up and you fucking run through it. Also, I didn't take the time. I had my parallax at infinity, but there was a fucking mirage that was warping my parallax. So I probably should have, and I couldn't see that the targets were all blurry. I was like, fuck. I should have stopped, got my parallax dialed in perfect, then started sending, and then remember dial, and I would have scooped 3 more points. But yeah, switch over to 6K Tiger, can't wait. But I pulled this barrel out I got from Shillin, paid for it to be cut, crown, threaded, pull it out, it's a bull barrel. I'm like, fuck. Hit up Kelbley, he's like, hey, I need this turnaround fast. I'm like, all right, we'll cut your barrel. Threaded it, came back. And now I'm just waiting for my go gauge that I paid for. No, I didn't pay for it. They didn't charge me, but I asked for it on my bill. But J Precision's sending me my go gauge, so that should be here like next couple days. And then burn that barrel up 200 rounds. What do you think the break-in is for 6K Tiger? Like 150?
I don't know. I've never shot it, so I wouldn't know. I'm sure it's similar to everything else because, like, I don't know. Every barrel I've ever shot, whether it's out of a higher end barrel, right? Like, I have some proof research barrels, and then down to like Roscoe manufacturing barrels that aren't very expensive, but they work really well. And through all of them, just to make sure I copper it. That's really what I'm trying to do.
Oh, like, you're too cute. Like, fuck, yeah. I just run 200 through it. I don't even copper foul it.
Oh, no. Like, all I'm trying to do is like get some in there. So
right.
Usually around 60 to 80 rounds, I find that my zero shifts, right, based off my original zero before it got enough copper in the rifling and in those imperfections that are in the rifling. And then once it's all set, I go and re-zero and it stays. It's like solid. Like, I have I think it's $11,000 or $12,000 or 12,000. 11 or 12,000 round whatchamacallit barrel that I was shooting 5.56 through for a long time, and it was I mainly used it up close and stuff, like within 200 yards. And I go ahead and I checked it last week or the week before, I think it was, and it's still shooting sub-minute groups, and I was taking it out to 800 with no problems, and that's just 5.56.
Right.
So I'm not having any issues with it, and that was based off the just it being shot and never taking any copper out of it, just keeping it fouled up essentially.
Yeah.
So it's actually really, barrels aren't that magical. Like, back in the day, I guess, like they had no, they can only surmise certain things from what the technology was giving them.
Right.
And then and now with what we have, like, where people can put scopes through there, they can go through all these different testing processes to see what's actually happening. It's like, man, the most important thing isn't even the rifling anymore. It's like, where's that jump from the actual chamber into the rifling is what gets corroded so much or destroyed over time. That's pretty much where you're going to start seeing degradation.
Yeah, your chambered neck, and if it gets copper fouling, you're popping primers. And you see the throat degrades fastest, so that's right where the bullet leaves the casing. That will start to degrade, and then at the muzzle will start to degrade. Everything in between is usually okay. At the muzzle starts to degrade depending on how thin the profile is, because you get whip. So like 6mm Creedmoor, you get a Krieger barrel, super high end Bartline Krieger, 2 top end barrels for PRS.
Pretty expensive.
Yeah, so you pay $900 to have a shop cut chamber, whatever your barrel. 6mm Creedmoor, 200 round break in to actually break in your barrel at $2.50 a round. The barrel life is 800 total rounds.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And I mean, I shit you not, this is like the real deal for 6 millimeter Creedmoor boys. They're dropping stupid money just to get their gun ready for matches, and they can shoot fucking 6 to 7 matches before they're getting pressure drops. Like their fucking velocity is going down hard because they're losing that back pressure through the throat wearing
Man,
out and the muzzle.
that's so bad.
I get about 3,500 out of 6.5 Creedmoor before I
Okay.
start seeing like my 100 yard groups open up just a hair, and I'm like, I'm done. Like, because you open up a hair at 100, you gotta understand at 1,000, it's a foot, right?
Mhm.
So I haven't really fucked with 6GT, but
I'm curious about it.
Hornady seemed to loaded them a little light. Like
Okay.
I usually all the guys that I know that run hand load 6GT are running like 30, 50, 31.
Okay.
So the factory ammo from Hornady is like 29, 40, which I think is still spicy, but it's a
It's,
little lower than most other dudes.
well, I'd say that's spicy compared to what you've been shooting, like 6.5. But like
It's a
when you go,
109.
yeah, but when you drop down to that, it should be in the threes. That's
Yeah.
interesting. I wonder if they're just trying to save a little bit, and they're like, oh, let's give them the same product for with less inside of.
Maybe it has to do with the 1/8 twist at 24 inches or 26 inches, and
I
then
don't know.
like, cause so I did talk to a kid. He was loading his own ammo. He was having issues popping primers, and I don't know if he checked his throat of his barrel, but he said he had to load down to 2750 for his loads for 109 to stabilize in his gun
Hmm.
because he was having stability issues. But again, if you're a dork like us and you really want to get the science of it, fucking PRS is so much fun. It's like building a Formula One race car, and you're like trying
And
to
then
tune
figuring out
it.
what fuel works in it.
Yeah, you're trying to figure out like, that and like what oil. Like, hell, my motor only runs on Motul, or is it fucking
And
Royal
I don't
Blue?
even nerd out as much as you are because you're going into more of the actual the crazier calibers that go into it. You know,
And I
I
hated that. I for the longest I've been putting off switching over to
yeah.
like the really super light recoil hot rounds that so felt recoil at the shooter. You manage all of your recoil with your support side hand on your bag with your pint size game changer. You don't have to load it as much in the rear. And again, those unconventional shooting positions, it's like, fuck. I wish I wasn't shooting this factory gold medal match right now because I'd see my drop shots and be able to correct rather than guess what the
Well,
fuck.
so with my buddy's dasher, I was able to see the majority of my own trace on most of my shots if I was angled the right way, especially in the sun or with the sun behind me. I was like, oh, I can see that little gold thing fly right into where I'm going. Like I can make up my shots or at least have my bolt rolled already before I go ahead and make that a correction. But I could see everything that's happening in that moment. And with my 6.5, I could see it out to like 5, 6, 700 and stuff, and out obviously further. And then with 308, it's probably around the same. Like it's around the 4, 500 that I start to see it, my own stuff. But anything closer than that, fuck no. Like there's no way. But with that dasher, dude, I could go from 1 all the way to fucking. I think it was like 1200 that I went to playing around, and I could see everything. It was
That,
crazy.
and that's magged out too.
Mm-hmm.
People mag in too much. I think that's one of the big things with precision guns. People mag in, like aim small, miss small. Okay, like mag in.
Yeah.
You don't need to mag in.
No, I gotta say, like most of my scopes are like 3 to 18 or 525 kind of thing, and I usually don't go past like 8. Like I'm around the 6 to 8 range on the majority of them. Um, like I think all the magnification is nice when I'm like zeroing and I'm trying to find my fucking stupid holes. But other than that, like I don't really use the magnification all that much. It's kind of a waste. That's why I've dropped down to mostly 3 to 18s at this point.
Right. Yeah, I think
Gives
like
me
the
enough.
rule of thumb, like one mag for every 100 yards that you want to shoot, essentially. And
Kind of.
then if you need extra, if you really want to dial in and see tight groups at like distance, but I shoot a 7 to 35. The reason why I shoot a 7 to 35 Night Force ATACer is because they bring in so much light. So I shoot between 12 and 15 power. Very rarely do I go up to 20 power.
Yeah.
Depends on light and how much I need to see. Then I'll mag into 20, but I've never in a match mag past 20.
Well,
But I want that bigger bell housing to draw that light in, especially when you're
well,
shooting later in the day.
that and you have a wider field of view too.
True.
So you're using a much wider field of view than I am with like a 3 to 18, where like I forget what the numbers are, but I know it's more. It's a bigger bell. So and that's another benefit. And I didn't recognize that until somebody brought it up to me at a match. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, cool. Why has everybody got these big fucking scopes? Right. And I was talking to one dude and I was like, you know what, let me run this by him. If I never see him again, no big deal. I won't hurt his feelings too much, right? But if I do, maybe he'll give me some knowledge. So I asked him, I was like, why is everybody using like 7 to 35s? You guys aren't even dialing that far. And they're like, it's not even about magnification. It's about that field of view, man. I could see more. So when we're working from target to target, they can like really see the next target already before I do, even magged out. So it's really cool. Like I was like, oh, that never crossed my brain. So it's cool. It's like, oh, it's interesting concept there.
Same with spotting scopes versus binos. I run binos as my spotting glass at matches because I can see more. I can see, and the one thing for PRS shooters, you're going to be a better PRS shooter if you spend as much time behind bino glass rather than shooting. Just you're watching the path of someone else's trace. You're watching the wind change, the wind switch. So like I spend all my time behind glass calling impacts at a match because I want to see how often the wind is switching, how dramatically it's switching. I can literally watch someone's trace bend back and forth through air because of like a switch wind or whatever the fuck, or a crosswind. And people don't realize that's so fucking important if you want to learn ballistics and learn how pathing works.
Well, that and just understanding how what's happening out there, because the bolt's going to tell you the truth every fucking time, right? Like it's literally landing where it's going to land. But like if you watch the guy like a couple dudes before you as you're going through, you could usually start tracking what they're doing, and you're like, oh, he called that wind bad. And then that wind's definitely more gusty than we thought. Or, oh, there's a little bit of right coming through that little lip that's coming down. Like you can see that kind of shit if you're watching. But some people are just like staring at the target and they're zoomed in on that bitch and they're not seeing anything. So it sucks because they're missing out on a really cool part of the nerd of PRS or just long distance shooting in general. Like if you're in a class with a bunch of dudes, I stay behind glass most of the time, and because I'm learning from their fuck ups too. Right. Once again, learning from other people's experiences, and like constantly always like eating up more info just because I'm willing to sit there and be behind a lens for a little longer than most people, and also trying to get behind the shooter too. That's another thing.
Absolutely. People don't understand spotting glass placement is super important. But I was so we're shooting out 1,300 yards and I'm behind the shooter. I have all this time to set up because we're a different squad, but
forgot to down.
We're bottlenecked, right? So I got my glass up and watching, and I'm like, man, every one of these shooters is shooting high on the first two targets. And the first two targets are really low on the horizon over a whole stretch of greenery, like short chopped like oak scrub. And I'm like, I bet that dark green oak scrub is creating a fucking updraft. And everyone's like, nah, updraft wouldn't shift to full mill, blah, 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 blah. Talking shit, right? I'm watching a yellow butterfly the size of $50 through my glass fly from the back berm, and I'm watching this butterfly fly, and it hits the scrub in front of the 1100, and it shoots 40 feet straight up. This fucking butterfly is zoom, and I'm just like, holy fuck, who else is on glass? They're like, you see that butterfly? Yeah, you see that butterfly? There's a fucking updraft, guys. And I was like, yo, hold fucking low on that target. Hold bottom edge on that fucking target when the sun's out, because it kept getting like cloud to no cloud, cloud to no cloud. I was like, if the sun is beating on you, fucking hold lower, because that little, like, look at the leaves, mag out, shoot magged out, and if you see the sun hitting that greenery, there's an updraft and it's moving shit. Because like no one believed me, because like they're like, you can have an updraft at the shooter. So like if you're shooting on a mountain and you have a wind going up, we've had instances where like the wind was so high that it was bumping the bullet out the muzzle and causing a shift. But you know, if you've ever seen
wind.
have you ever seen any of those Nat Geo movies where you see like fucking albatross spinning over some fucking void and then just shoot right? Like, it's a real deal. It affects bullets.
It happens in water and it happens in the air really easy.
And that fucking butterfly was a tell. I was just like, oh fuck, hey squad, there's an updraft. You know, it's just wild.
That's cool. Little things, man. Little things in life.
I love that shit. Yeah, like, oh, thank you, butterfly, for fucking walking in that field of view.
Did you get your hits or did you fuck them up still?
No, that was the one I fucking didn't dial. And my parallax
all gassed up over a butterfly.
I was all gassed up for this butterfly, and then like it was like looking through pea soup. It was like looking through like water, like a full glass of water, and holding it up to like I was shooting through that, you know. And, like, and obviously my brain is so tunnel visioned on getting my hits, and I'm like, wait, why is everything blurry? You know. And then I adjusted my parallax on the next stage, and I'm like, got my hits. Like,
I don't know if you've ever read the book With Winning in Mind.
I have not.
Oh, fantastic book. And it talks about exactly what you just experienced, because as shooters, right, we're trying to do what we want to do, right? We want to get that result of whatever it is that we're trying to result. And we're trying to get that win every time. And what people forget is like there's a certain amount of skill, obviously. Like, you can't go there and be like, I just ripped the tag off this thing. How do I get into this? Like, you can't like do that. But at a certain point, there's like, I've built enough skill. Now, what do I do with all this skill? And you have to build up the kind of the mental game to get yourself past that last hump to winning, if that makes sense. And it's really cool, really good book. The guy that wrote it and narrates it, actually, if you listen into it on Audible, he passed away a little while ago, but he was an Olympic shooter. And when he started out, he would always ask like all these fucking Olympians that were like winning shit, like in archery and other shit, like not even in shooting most of the time. And it was like, what do you do before, like, you know, a match? Like, what do you do before that? And they're like, oh yeah, just, you know, get my head straight. You know, everybody had their own version of that. And it's literally just getting into the game. Like, you got to get your head in the game. And the second you come out of it, like, little yellow butterfly, and you get all excited over that, your head went fucking, your game went out the fucking door. And then you had to either regain it quickly, or you were just running on fucking fumes at that point. And the downside to it is, as you saw, like, you forget little shit that's not even something you would worry about previously, but your brain didn't think about it at that time because you're already below the threshold of being there. Does that make sense? Like, you weren't in the now anymore. No. You were in the past or in the future or whatever it is.
Absolutely. And I have something to add to this. So historically, I'm usually like, I don't give a fuck what squad I'm on. I don't care if I'm with pros or not pros. If there's new guys, I'm going to coach them where I can. So I shot like a national match, and I was in like the most novice fucking squad. And I ended up having to call environmental for these dudes. I had to, you know, I'm pulling all their data for them, not focusing what I'm doing. And then when yeah, right. And I'm like, when I'm in a fucking like super squad, like, other shooters that are better than me drive me to be a better shooter. And like the last time I was in a super squad, I won the match because my buddy's like, dude, trust your win tables, da, 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 da. And I fucking win the match. And he's like, fuck you, you're never in a fucking squad with me again. Because you know, he didn't expect me to win. But
how dare you beat me with my advice?
How dare you? You know, but like, I'm one of those people, like, I play golf. People are like, oh, golf's fucking for weirdo fucking, like, whatever. Like, it's a head game, right? And if I'm up there and I'm swinging too hard and I'm blasting shots and like squirrely shots, you know, I tell my buddy that I play with him, I was like, yo, tell me to swing slow. He's like, Alex, swing fucking slow. Like, let the club head do the fucking work. Then bang, I'm banging these beautiful shots. So it's all head game, but fuck, where was I going with this? What was your last?
In that squad with all the novice dudes.
Yes. So they held me back, right? So I'm too busy coaching and helping them that I'm not focusing on my own development as a shooter. I'm
Mm-hmm.
also not in a squad where everyone's fucking like giving each other good data, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm the gatekeeper for data in the squad, and everyone's relying on my data. And there was a guy in the squad that was a new shooter, but he trusted my data, was shooting great. Then I had this guy from China who is shooting the match, and I'm like, all right, dude, dial fucking. It's 1.2 mils of wind at 1,300 yards, and he'll straight up and blast it 40 feet to the right of the target. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? And he's like, oh, I held straight up, and I was like, I gave you data, like you were off the exact amount that I told you. And some of these novice shooters, I feel bad because they're dumping $3 a round down range. I get ammo a lot cheaper than them.
They made their choice.
Yeah, they made their choice, and it sucks. And then another thing that I learned is this last squad that I shot at Granby, Massachusetts. Granted, thank God I'm one of the only people with an SO2 with a can. Like, I'm allowed to shoot behind a can. Everyone else is running fucking muzzle devices. Uncivilized pricks. Anyway, so I'm shooting, and then I realized the two super squads are squad 1 and 2. Squad 1 and 2 get to shoot the two longest stages first thing in the morning when there's no wind. Ooh, I learned another thing about that fucking match. Guess what squad I'm gonna sign up for and make sure I'm fucking in next time? 1 or 2, because it's the only position on the course of fire that you can hit those long shots before rounds start crossing courses of fire. So, I wonder why all the pros were on squad 1 and 2. Oh, the match director is a pro. Oh, he told everyone get on squad 1 or 2. Now I know how this fucking shit works. So
there is a buddy system to it.
There is a gaming system, and for people that don't know shoot matches, gaming is cheating in a fair way.
Well, it's a game, right? So
it is a game.
Just like anything that's a game, like you're always looking for what can I do to be more better than everybody else doing the game. So in the game of life, we're always trying to get an upper hand. Like, why would you not want to try and get an upper hand in the game of a game? Like, you don't purposely, handicap yourself in your own life.
I think they should randomize squads in PRS.
Go for it.
I think
that would make it fair.
I think they should purposefully randomize squads in PRS, because I let the fucking randomizer pick me, because I'm like, fuck it, I do this for fun. But after shooting our local series and usually being top 10 and getting pushed back to top 20 from all these pros traveling all over and they're shooting super squads, I'm like, y'all motherfuckers cheat. Because y'all motherfuckers know the match directors, and you find out where the first two longest stages. Now, granted, first two stages are usually a little soupy in the morning. You get a different Mirage. You get a stronger Mirage. But if you can defeat Mirage, you're not fighting wind. And wind is 1,000% the problem. At least if you're shooting through a Mirage and you see that you're hitting high, you can hold low, make the adjustment. Wind is like the impossible factor.
Well, it's the great equalizer to an extent, or like one of my buddies likes to say, he's like wind don't give a fuck what you think, like wind don't care.
Exactly.
The wind's gonna keep winding.
So anything we didn't really talk. I mean, God, we pigeonholed into fucking long gun for a long time.
Well, I've been getting into it in the last 3 years, so it's like it's a lot of fun for me. And that's kind of like what we started talking about early on, is like, what do you do other than shooting? And it's very little that I do outside of shooting, but I do different kind of shooting as like a recreational thing. And that's PRS. Like, I don't shoot, or I don't teach long distance shooting. I was never a sniper. I don't do any of that stuff, but like, damn, I fell in love with it. Like, to the point where I was thinking back and I'm like, man, if I would have just hung out with our snipers a little bit and gone to the range with them, like, just go check it out. Cause I do like shooting, and I did like shooting then too. But if I would have just like went for that instead of just like wanted to go and shoot up close and like do CQB and stuff, if I would have just done it once, maybe I would have been like, oh, this is cool. And I may have fallen in love with it. Who knows? I don't know if my maturity level was there yet at the time, but it would have been cool. And I would have definitely ended up in the sniper platoon, especially with the mind that I have now, where I'm like, man, I like shooting things really far away. It's just fun, and then it's safer. like by far.
Kinda.
Yeah. Well,
Debatable if you have to two-man fucking clear an empty structure. That sounds fucking terrible.
well,
But
even with like, let's say like a platoon, right? Like
right.
you're
Oh,
hitting
like a
an
support
entire,
element, yeah.
yeah, you're hitting an entire structure with a platoon. You still have like a squad or two that are doing assaulting, and those dudes, there's like fucking 12 to, I don't know, 17, 18 guys working a structure, and you're like, there's a lot of dudes with a lot of guns doing a lot of swinging things, and who knows what's inside.
Right.
So it's a very dangerous game, right? Hunting man, the most dangerous game, and and if you can do it from like really far away and just like hit them in the face, well,
Dude,
from
you just
back
slapped
there,
that like a hoe.
like cool. Hey, we don't have to go over there, guys. We're done with it. It's the same reason why we used close air support. Like we drop a bomb thing over there, guys. And then the dudes that did that stuff would get on a radio and do that thing. And then we're like, all right, cool, let's go pick up the pieces or whatever. Like we don't have to go in that building anymore. Like it's awesome. So especially if we've been shot at from it, F it, dude. So like there's that little bit of a safety factor that I really like about it. But overall, like it's just a lot of nerd, right? Like my
Yeah.
nerd gets to come out more. And because it's so challenging, it's not like shooting groups at 5 yards with your handgun. Not in my opinion. Like shooting groups even at 100 with a rifle is like there's a lot of like focus that goes into it to the point that I have to like clear my head and just be there. It's really cool, and like it brings me joy as well as brings me calm. It's like I don't know, it's therapeutic to an extent. That's why I like it so much, I think.
In the process of getting chronoing and zeroing and then and verifying your data over distance, and I like the math, the kestrels. I run density altitude. I don't do everything, and some snipers will say fuck density altitude. Well, dude, I'm still fucking hitting when I'm hitting at 1,300 yards. Like it works. But you touched on a couple points. So for people listening that don't know who you are, could you give a quick background into your professional career in the military, that you can elaborate on?
Yeah. So I spent right out of high school. I became an EMT and down here in South Florida, and worked as an EMT for a little bit. Figured out I didn't want to become a firefighter because that's where my route was, or that's the route I was taking. And figured out I just really wanted to live my childhood dream and go blow things up. And so so I went to the military. I went into the Army, and I was one of those dudes that like researched what I wanted to do. I didn't just like, yeah, recruiter, give me the best thing you got. Like I was like, all right, with my ASVAB score, what can I get? And he pretty much laid it out. I can almost get almost anything in the Army. And I was like, okay, well, what are all the cool MOSs that I can like blow shit up? And he lists those out. And going through it, I saw something called a Ranger. And I was like, the hell is that? So I did some research, figured out, I was like, wow, those dudes just get to destroy everything.
Yes.
Like that's all they get, that's all they do. Like that's gonna be awesome. So went ahead. I actually spoke to a former Ranger from the Panama era and chit chatted with him about it. He's like, it's gonna suck at first. You're gonna be the bitch. You're gonna do all the legwork and stuff like that. But after that, like it is the tightest brotherhood you'll ever have in your life. And even now, like when I meet another Ranger that wasn't even in my era, my battalion or anything, we're immediately friends. So it's like, you, me, yeah.
Oh,
So
there was a tips touching.
it's crazy, man, and it's cool because that's how it is. It's just the brotherhood is so tight in that way. So went into the Army, went that route, and I had what's called an option 40, which is like when you go into the military with a contract that states that you're going to be able to get to where you want to be if you pass all the shit prior. So I had to go through basic infantry school, airborne school, and if I broke my shit in any of those, they can send me to the needs of the Army. And then once I passed all those and got through those, I went to RIP. So it's RASP now, but it was RIP back then. And it was the Ranger indoctrination program, and it's just 60 days of like getting your shit pushed in. It was a lot. Or was it 60 days? No, I'm sorry, it was 4 weeks. 4 weeks of getting your shit pushed in, and just really figuring out like if you had the mental and physical attitude to be there, to earn your scroll and to earn your beret. And once you got there, it was cool. Like they threw you in different battalions. I was stationed in Fort Benning, and in Fort Benning, I think I got to double check, but I'm pretty sure like most Rangers spent more time overseas than they do in garrison or at home, because of the way that we rotate, and depends on your deployment schedule and stuff like that. But we constantly deploy. Like it was really cool. It was like a prideful part of what we did. And then yeah, and then after that, after it was 5 years, I decided I was going to get out, and kind of decided based off of like injuries and stuff. So for those that don't know, I actually I don't have hearing in my left ear. My back got messed up pretty bad. My whole left leg and my ankle got destroyed for the most part, to the point that I had to like rehab it for a couple years after the military. And still every once in a while I wake up and I'm like, oh, I can't step on that. And so little things like that I had to like do, and make sure I took care of myself. And so got out of the military, went into the private sector, and started doing some stuff with a couple different companies, and then ended up working a little bit of EP stuff like executive protection, which was boring as hell. And if you don't like being like a wealthy person's bitch, I don't suggest it. And then got out of that. But between all that time, I started teaching for Frank Proctor from Way of the Gun. And at the time, it was Way of the Gun. And Frank and he kind of mentored me in the shooting world. And he's the one that got me into competitive shooting. He's the one that opened my eyes up to more than just what the military was giving me. Because, when you're in an alpha male environment like a Ranger battalion, like, dude, it's you got to have the attitude, and you got to have the goal, and you have to have the outrageous, like, what is it, confidence that comes with that. You walk around with a big heart on everywhere you go, because it's like, get out of my way, bro. Like, because you're a Ranger. And so what that does though is it sets you up for failure when you go out into one of the real world, or you actually get into like some kind of competitive sport that you suck at. So for example, USPSA, when I first started shooting USPSA, I sucked. I was like terrible. And I was like, why do I suck so bad? Like, I've been on deployments. I could shoot at people. That shit's easy. That is so much easier than doing a competitive sport, performance on demand, and do it to the T based off of the rules they give you. And if you could follow those and you could still keep your head on straight and work through it, I find that shows a little bit more of the professionalism out of somebody versus somebody that's just like, yeah, holes in paper, like, it's like, okay, but do that with an exercise that somebody gave you that you've never done before in front of a bunch of people with scoring and time involved, and do it without any fucking practice prior. And then you look at that and you equate it to like the tactical world, and that's exactly what you do in a mission. Like, it's not like before we get on a helicopter, it's like, all right, let's go to the range, we'll just practice this a few times before we get on that bird, and we fly out there and we go fight people. No, man, it's performance on demand. It's like, get your pants on, let's go. And I think that's one of the things that appealed to me in the competitive world. And Frank Proctor is the one that kind of introduced me to that. And then from there, I started teaching for Sage Dynamics, and throughout all that time, I had also opened up my own training company and consulting company, but mainly it was just for LE and MIL, and and it was really to start introducing night vision into the LE world, or helping them with it essentially. And it grew pretty good and pretty fast. But I had a friend of mine, he was like, why don't you just open it up to civilians too? And I was like, yeah, I didn't think of that. Like, so I started doing that, and started teaching openly for everybody. And I'm a fan of teaching like civilians tactics. I don't think that should be like a coveted thing in any way. It isn't anyways. The internet's available for everybody to see, and you might as well start teaching people good stuff versus let them, get some kind of like faux Israeli guy teaching, whatever dance moves at the doorway kind of thing. So like, like it's just like one of those things, like I could teach this stuff. Why not bring my experiences into it? And even then, like over the years, I've progressed and learned new things and learned different things. And, because I'm constantly learning new stuff, and I don't stop at just my experience. So I find that people do that, and they stay in that. Well, I did this for this many years, and this is what always. And it's like, bro, but you don't have a Nokia in your fucking pocket. You have an iPhone, or you have some newer phone. Like, you've evolved on your phones. Why didn't you evolve in your tactics and principles and fundamentals and the way that you do things in general? You're definitely not wearing the same fucking shoes. So like like you're evolving as a human. The world evolves, so we have to evolve everything essentially, and constantly start looking for the next step in what we're doing. Otherwise, you get left behind. And I find that that's the mindset I want to have when it comes to anything that I do. So like, if like for example, a product I invented, and it's not even a firearms related product, was strictly because I had the idea based off of a terrible experience I had. And I was like, I could make a better version of that. And I started doing it, and it was cool. And like, and then like, it's one of those things, like you can do whatever you set your mind to, but if you pigeonhole yourself into a small space, you're never going to progress. Right. So as a person in general, like, it's just something I've always tried to do, is just get better at whatever I'm trying to do. And that's essentially what I've done over the course of these years. Even out of the military, like, that was just a small snippet of information and experiences that, yeah, I can't get anywhere else. And they were solid, and I had a lot of fun, and they're scary and all that jazz. But what I've done since has progressed so much more. Like, it's opened the floodgates of information and knowledge and stuff like that, compared to what I did back then. Like, me as a pistol shooter in fucking Ranger Battalion, right? Trash, right? Until I met Frank. And then from there, like, it just, my small, like, plateau of shooting just started skyrocketing. And now it's like little nuggets here, little nuggets there, that I can pick up from other people, and I love doing it. That's why, like, you'll see me in fundamental classes all the time. Like, I just took a distance carbine 1 class. Why? Because I'm like, I could learn something, like, why not? So it's I don't know. I like I said before, like, when like, I look at ego, it's not your friend. He's not there for you. And like Chuck Pressburg, like, ego's not your amigo, man. And it's true. It's absolutely true. And you let that thing seep in, and you're just gonna hold yourself back. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to hold me back.
No, but everyone needs to remember, if you have a core group of dudes that shoot with you, they better fucking talk shit to you, because not ego, banter pushes you. I love it. I love
banter helps, for sure.
I love my core group of dudes. It's funny, we phased out some people from our little, like, group, because you ask why, and they get all defensive, like, oh, I shoot this drill, blah blah blah. You're like, why? Tell me why. They're like, oh, well, they expect banter. And then when you're actually asking why, they just have a fucking meltdown. They're like, well, what do you mean why? This is why I do it. And it's like, still waiting. Like you didn't tell me why. Like, what is the reason, the core value reason why you're doing this drill? And so we vetted a lot of people out of our group. But it's all shit talk, man. It's like,
it should be. That's what friends do.
It's fucking great. So we shot this little pistol qual the other day up at Ridgeline, and Alex just created this new drill. It's just like, you're at, like,
I need to get up there, man. I liked my conversation with him.
Oh my god, dude! If you come up, please let me know, because, like, I'm gonna fucking ruin your day. I'll be up there. Alex will let me sneak in if you show up, right? So so he did this drill. It was like, you start, I think you're 20 yards out, 5 on a B8, run 40 lateral, 5 on another B8, run 10 yards forward. Now you're at 5 yards or 15 or whatever the fuck it is. I think you're 5 yards out, 5 on a B8, and then you run another 40 right and 5 on a B8. So a big old rectangle.
Yeah.
And You got to shoot a 180 or better, and you have to be under. I think you have to be under like 40 seconds or something like. And so I know
That's
I'm running.
good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Or it's like 30. I think it's 40 seconds. And it's funny because my buddy Pete is like a fucking apex athlete, but he likes to rush things. Like we were doing some CQBR shit and like it's glass house. Like we can see where a fucking target is. And he wants to be the first person to press a shot. So he punches through the door. He's number one guy. He goes through the door and he shoots the fucking target in the back left corner, even though you can see the fucking target directly to your left. Like he didn't clear his corner. And then I'm number three. Brett's number two. He peels in. I peel opposite. And, we hit our targets and close our sectors of fire. And then Jay's like, yo, y'all dead. Pete, god damn it, Pete, your fucking ego. Like he's like, I love Pete.
Yeah.
I love Pete to death. He's a fucking fantastic shooter, but he's the one that always wants to be the fastest, most accurate. And even though he was like he like helped set up that course of fire, still forgot the target.
Is he a perfectionist?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. He was a reserve army dude. He's like all into it, and he's one of my favorite people on planet Earth. But he's the easiest to get riled up. So he's running that fucking new pistol drill, and he's like Costa. Like I'm 250. I got like shorter legs, longer torso. I'm not the fastest. I'm a faster sprinter, but I'm a big dude. I'm moving a lot. But I know I got time. I know I can make up time with my pistol shooting. I shoot a Staccato XC with a C2 grip. Like I'm cheater.
You let the gun to yourself.
Whatever. Anyway, so and I know it's a running drill, so he's running full kit, and I'm like, oh, fuck this rifle mag, fuck this extra pistol mag. I don't need a reload here either. Like one magazine in the gun, I'm good to go. And I'm not the fat. I'm a stamina guy. Like I hunt over my fucking. I have a Deutsch Kutzar hunting dog. I will hunt mountains behind her by myself, killing birds all day. I'm a stamina dude, but running has never. I've horrible shin splints. Like running's not my strong suit. It's not a big deal. I'll keep up, and I'll make it up in shooting. So Pete runs it, drops a bunch of shots, like at fucking 20 yards. He drops like fucking 6 out the bowl, and I'm like, dude. I love Pete, but Pete always runs a 320 in the beginning of training because he's trying to break this gun. And I was like, dude, you shoot a Glock better. Stop fucking shooting a 320. Every time we go out to shoot, you shoot a fucking 320 to start, and you end up playing with your Glock at the end of the day. Like, just stick with what you're fucking good at. Like,
stop trying to fall in love with it.
Like, yeah. Like, and I'm just like, Pete. So he shoots.
It's like that ex-girlfriend that is not fucking good for you, but you keep going back.
He loves the sleuths. Loves the sleuths. Anyway, so he runs this thing, comes back, and like he ran it. He had like fucking 25 seconds left on the clock. Fail because he missed, right? Yeah. And I fucking finished with 1 second to spare. I'm counting in my head. I'm counting my shots, and I drop 3. And I get like whatever 185 or whatever, and Jay's like, all right, Costa's the only one that fucking passes. And they do it 2 more times. Still, no one passes but me. I only had to run it once. And it's just like, all right, like I know where I can make up my time. I'm not the fastest, but I'm fucking efficient. And the thing with me with like PRS is like I run too fast. I need to slow down. Even when I think I'm slow, I'm still fast. Like I've only timed out a handful of times on stages. And that's a stability issue and a me issue. But if I'm stable, dude, I'm running that shit too fast anyway. But yeah, I'm just like, Pete, you're a fucking apex athlete. Slow the fuck down, dude. You don't need to do it fastest. Yeah. You're not winning if you're losing. You just need to fucking shoot. Yeah. So like, that's like my advice for people is like, you might think you're a fucking fantastic shooter, but you take the fucking time. Take the time. Take as much time as you need within reason. Get the fucking course of fire done. Don't rush it.
Yeah, I'd rather time out and then be like, oh, okay, I can move this a little faster, kind of learn where you need to be faster, then go so fast that you have nowhere or no idea where you can make up work.
Right.
So I don't know. You learn more from losses usually than you do from wins, and people I don't think see it that way. So they get in their own head after they lose something or they fail at something, and they start this I don't know, a snowball effect
Yeah.
of problems that start to arise because of it. But if they just I don't know, I made a video about it actually a while ago, but it's a bad habit that people have as shooters. They look at it as winning, losing, passing, failing, and stuff like that. Where now, like you look at any high level dude that's out there, and they don't look at failures as failures. They look at them as learning opportunities, right? You look at it as okay, like that's why you do AARs. That's why you think and you ponder through mistakes that you made, because you find where you made those mistakes and why you made them, and then fix them at some point.
Yeah.
But it's something people don't do very often, so it's interesting.
And I'm sure it's the same for you. PRS for me, it's nice if I'm top 10, but like if I fuck up a stage and I can mentally backpedal and revisit it and go, man, I know exactly every fucking shot I dropped. Like that
Mm-hmm.
means that you have hit that pinnacle where you can diagnose your failures, your mistakes and your failures, and learn from them and be like, okay, next time I'm in this situation, I'm not going to do it that way. Like that's the
Yeah.
only way to better yourself.
It's
And
recall.
exactly, and like this is not me bad talking Sig Sauer Academy, but I took the better part of 150 classes at Sig,
Mm-hmm.
and because they're close, local, a bunch of friends teach. And they went through like a weird phase where they had a different director of the academy, and he was a master chief dev guru, and he just kind of was a bad leader, and they've replaced him since then. But a lot of the really great instructors had fallen off, and they're all back now, which is great. They all came back. But there was a dark point where in my training for me, where I was at SIG all the time, and it was kind of the vibe was like the classes and the instructors that were taking, these were privates through through the same person that does Ridgeline that I shoot with, but it was almost like they were creating these scenarios that were just like so whimsical that we just had fun, but we weren't learning anything, right?
Mm.
It was just like volume of fire. And then
Ballistic masturbation.
yes, and then Ridgeline started really stepping up their capabilities, and Alex was like, "Come up, take some classes." So I came up and take some classes, and I took some, like, he was like, "Hey, come up, spend some time with me. We'll just shoot together. We'll do some stuff, some vehicle stuff." So I did like privates with Alex, and it was like, man, I had plateaued at SIG. Now SIG's not the same company it was anymore. Like the academy is not the same academy that it was 5 years ago. It's like so much better now, but I'm at Ridgeline now. Like Ridgeline was that they broke that mold. It was minutia level instruction, like footwork, sling manipulation for vehicles, like whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
Like Alex was like, "Hey, Iron Cross. Have you ever done Iron Cross?" I was like, "No, what's that?" And it's Iron Cross.
Yeah.
Yeah, so shooting Iron Cross, he's like, all right, cool, we're gonna do this. Okay, now we're gonna get into vehicles, and then it's like, oh, the dots connect in my head where I'm shooting over the back of a seat or something, like, oh, this is why we do Iron Cross. Like, oh
Yeah.
my god, it makes so much fucking sense now. So that's where I saw the minutia level stuff start to elevate, and now I'm like pretty much at fucking Ridgeline permanently for now. And they've had a great cycle of instructors, so you get a lot of great instruction. And
Yeah.
having that in New Hampshire, and then Team O'Neill, like I took a rally class at Team O'Neill.
I was gonna say, because that's my plan. If I go up there to go take a class, is to go over to Team O'Neill and go drive a little bit, because I've never done any kind of rally racing or rally driving or fucking just crashing cars in bushes or whatever. But
It's the fucking coolest.
it looks so much fun, and I think that would be a great week. Like just
Oh, well,
going up
that's
there.
why it's there. Like, people don't realize, like, Ridgeline exists across from Team O'Neill because 50% of Team O'Neill's business is soft.
Yeah.
Like, I was there last week at Ridgeline, and when you hear the fucking cars fire up at 6 a.m., you know it's a fucking team. And they're ripping around all day, even through lunch. The fucking cars, you can hear them across the valley ripping through. And I was like, fuck, there's a unit over there. And, sometimes you'll roll up for like something and they'll be like, all right, no cameras, there's a unit here. Who knows who it is? But yeah, that's 50% of Team O'Neill's business is teaching fucking operators how to drive. And then you got Ridgeline now creating that capability where they do driving school for a week. They go over and do like CQBR, and then they have a fucking end of the week where they're mixing vehicles and shooting, and you get the whole package. And it's fucking cool that they have that capability. So, yeah, dude, get up here. You can stay in my house for free. Fucking.
Well, I was talking to Alex about it last year at Shooter Symposium in October last year, and he was telling me how much they're going to do to the place. So he was like, just wait until we finesse this place, like make it nice again, because I want to go up there and teach too. So I'll talk to him again because I should be seeing him next month. So cool.
It from 4 months ago, this place has evolved.
Yeah, like, that's what he was telling me. It's crazy.
I think they have their like sniper tower shooting platform. I think they're just waiting to add stairs and bumper some of the sharp shit.
Yeah, because they did the stacking the conics is like so-ish.
Yep. They just finished the tower. They've got some crazy ass capabilities coming out in the next few years too. That I'll talk to you offline about. But yeah, no, it's going to compete with like Shaw shooting, what Mid-South could have been, you know, like, not to throw shade, like, you know, that was like the creme de la creme for 20 fucking years, but you know, they're trying to become that fucking quintessential soft training facility, and having Team O'Neill across the road
and definitely helped that.
Yeah, it's I think it's next level for that mountain type life. And so it's fucking tight. I really hope you fucking teach up here, dude. I'm gonna sneak myself in.
No,
I have a bunch of friends that have taken classes with you. They're like, you have to take a Mocha Bear class, and I'm like,
yeah.
Why doesn't he come to the Northeast?
It's cold up there, dude. I'm a tropical animal.
I know, dude.
No, I teach in cold areas too. I just haven't gone up there. I need to talk to Alex about it because it'd be easy pickings, like go up there and go teach, because it's different from what he's teaching, and usually like, and even if it was the same, he may pick up some stuff from me because I do things a little different than him.
Oh, dude, everyone. And that's it. Take as many fucking classes. If you're a listener and you're getting a training, dude, dump all your money into ammo and classes and take as many classes with different instructors as possible and build
something I love to say, because that's true, right? Like, you know, like buy a base gun or whatever to go take classes and go learn, because all those gear questions you have will be answered with your own knowledge, right? Your own experiences doing classes. And like people don't think about that. It's like, why don't I go out and like ask a dude about this bipod? Well, because I look at the bipod and I'm like, well, with my knowledge that I've earned all these years and I've invested my money into me, I know I don't need that shit. I need that one, right? Like, or whatever, you know, like whatever the fuck it is. And that's what guides me on like gear, if you want to call it that, right? Like it's what guides me. Like when I built my first 6.5 Creedmoor, I was like, man, what do I want to do? And I literally took, like, I have a Tika that I bought and took out to a class. And after that class, I knew exactly what I was going to do with a 6.5. I was like, oh man, after playing around with this guy's gun, playing around with that fucking, like the chassis that he had, the KRG, I was like, oh, I'm fucking sold. Love that thing. So it was really cool, man. And then like I just learned what I needed without having to ask anybody anything, because I literally experienced and learned from my experiences. But if you don't invest in yourself, like nobody's gonna fucking do it for you. So you could just ask all the questions, like, you know, what pants are you wearing and shit, or you go rip a few pairs of pants and you try a few and then you realize which ones work for you.
Right. Same thing. Rudy Gonsois over there. Rudy's like the sniper dude up there, and I took an SPR class with him, and I had a 193 condition one. I built out this gun. I was running the LaRue riser, and I had my M-Lock Picatinny mount for this Harris bipod too far forward. I didn't have it at a good area where I could shoot uphill when I'm in a downward slope. I grabbed the wrong model Harris. It was one of the friction Titan ones, not the ones with the clicky legs.
Ooh.
So I switched over to like the LaRue. So basically, I kind of built it after seeing a gun that Rudy had in a class that we shot. But I didn't ask him. I just kind of built it out the way I thought he had it. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm running in the class and I slam my gun down and my bipod collapses. And I'm like, fuck. He's like, dude, you need the LR10 or LT06 from LaRue. You need to move your fucking pick rail back a hair. You need to move it back to M-lock, because then you'll have the more, universal position for your bipod. And, I move my switches around, move my D-ball a bit,
But with all those experiences, like you learn, and then now like think about what you can do, because you're like, I don't like my bipod there. I would put it here, and you started learning all that shit. So now like every other gun that is for a purpose like an SPR, like I know exactly what I'm going to put together like that. Yeah, it's cool.
I had like an SL fucking Magpul grip because I thought the Finner grip would be nicer. Now I have a Sierra on it. I got rid of the Mo with the LaRue. I switched over to the new B5 Army stock because I was like, damn, I don't have to adjust length of pull because it's already long and it locks in and it's tight as fuck. Went from a 193 Badger to a 1. I was like, oh, night vision. I'm going to run night vision with this. Like, okay, I can still do that with a 1.7 passive. I had my T2 over the ejection port that got covered in carbon. It was dumping rounds under my hand. I had some nasty wrist burns. Like, all right, that's moving forward. But I mean, if you're sitting at a range shooting your special purpose rifle that you built because you're fucking badass and you're not putting yourself through these paces, you're never going to realize that your gear sucks. So I dropped another $1,000 into this gun, and I'm running like an ATAC 1-8, and we're shooting at like 800 yards, and I'm like, wow, no parallax. This sucks. Like, maybe I should go to a 5-25. If I really want a true SPR, that, I'm still going to say the 1-8 because I was still banging targets over dudes with 308s, but.
Well, no shit. Like with my 11.5 5.56 gun, I was just recently shooting out to 800. With my 1-10, my Vortex 1-10. It's not hard if you do the math, you do the practice, and then you understand what your data is. It's fucking easy pickings
And good ammo. Fucking people never like.
I was shooting fucking 77 grain IMI, so it wasn't even like solid ammo. It was good. It wasn't awesome.
Good grain weight, okay ammo.
Yeah,
that was the thing. I was like, when I took that SPR class, I was like struggling to find 77 SMKs, and so I ended up buying like Winchester USA Red 62 grain OTM. The OTM was actually like a perforated fingers folded in on itself. It was. Like it's 600 yards, dude. It's like one out of 6 shots was hitting fucking. And Rudy's like, "Oh, your elevation's good, but your windage sucks, bro." And I'm like, "Fuck this ammo." And I switch over to like a 77 grain, and it's like, ding, 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 like fuck. So don't cheap out on ammo. You build these fucking rocket ships, and then you put fucking 87 in it, not jet fuel. Like, you're gonna shortchange yourself, and you're not gonna get the experience that you want out of the training that you're already investing so much into.
Yeah, you're just gonna be more frustrated than you are gonna be receiving knowledge. It kind of sucks. It's one of those things that all of us have experienced, right? Like, I've taken classes where I'm like my ammo is just not fucking working for anything, and I go ahead and I like buy ammo off of somebody else so that I can do something else, or just suffer with it and just realize like I'm being limited by what my ammo is now capable of. So personally, like I know from my experience as a younger dude when I was like overly confident or like I let things get to me a little easier, that would ruin my fucking day, right? That would ruin my mind, and like it would ruin a whole training day just because I was having a bad moment in that 1 or 2 minutes that I was shooting. So over time though, like I've realized like that's a moment that I can focus on like my own fundamentals in certain ways and see if it actually is the gun or if it is me. Or the other thing too is like I can also work on the emotional side of things, right? Like think about the brain a little bit and how it works. If I get that heavy dose of fucking anger, and it's like building up inside me, and I can learn to like simmer it down and cool that bitch to the point that I can still work and not have this thing lingering in my head. Like that's a point that like that should be a good moment to like practice that. It's the same if you like you get into a fight with like your spouse or like your significant other or whatever. Like if you get into that fight, like bro, if you can control yourself and like calm it down, one, it's gonna piss them off a little bit if they're Latin.
Whoa.
They'll cut you. But no, if you're able to simmer down and like really relax yourself a little bit and like you can think more clearly and have a decent conversation instead of an argument. It's actually really interesting. So like if that's another moment that you could practice that in like live fire, if you want to call it that, instead of like just sitting there meditating and like doing that, that would be like dry practice of your emotional state. But it's one of those things I don't think a lot of people talk about because emotions, bro. I don't got no emotions. But that shit's an emotion, not having one. But so like that, it's something that people need to work on more because that's where you see it a lot. Similar to your perfectionist friend that you were talking about, I'm sure he was getting emotionally involved in that exercise, fucking it up 3 times and letting your unathletic ass fucking win.
Whoa, I'm fucking athletic in my own way. I'm a tactical muffin top. I just need to put the time in. I was sick for 3 weeks with a fucking respiratory infection. I was a little slow.
But no, I'm just saying, like,
you're about as big as one of my legs, motherfucker. Okay,
I probably am. I'm like 5'10", like 185.
Yeah, I'm 6'2", 250.
Yeah. So all I gotta do is just run. So
wow.
No, but in all seriousness, like his athletic ability that you explained,
right,
was superior in some form or fashion, but his mental game and his emotional game was so diminished by his mistakes that you could have won all fucking day, and it doesn't matter how fast, strong, whatever he is, because you beat him on a level that his athletic prowess wasn't able to compete on. Right. Does that make sense?
Like, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, here's an example. So there's a book called Atomic Habits, and it's a great book, short book. It's talking about little habits to augment your life in a positive way. But one of the scenarios, and I'm going to use this against my unathletic self, is I'm built like a swimmer, right? Super long upper body, shorter fucking legs, and I got a lot to move. And so I have, and I'm not saying this like I'm fucking Michael Phelps, but Michael Phelps has big ass feet, shorter legs, and a longer torso. He's a really good swimmer. I'm a fucking unbelievable swimmer. I'm from Cape Cod, grew up on boats. I live in the fucking water. I swim really well. But he talks about Michael Phelps and he compares him to this Moroccan long distance marathon runner who has a very stout, tiny little upper body and he's all legs. And you put him into a swimming scenario and he pretty much sinks, because legs don't keep you afloat. You need the ship and a very stout motor to push that around. So I'm built like a swimmer. I'm never going to be a good runner, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this guy is never going to be a good swimmer. So, my buddy Pete has a body type where he's really well-rounded. He can run. But I'm just built like a swimmer. Like, I'm just a little fucking tugboat, okay?
But that's the thing, though. You know your strengths, you know your weaknesses. So next time you guys do that 40-yard by 15-yard box, like, do it in the water. Done.
Right, but like, so okay, let's take this practical approach to this. I know that I need to be a better shooter than Pete because I'm not going to beat him athletically. So I need to make up the difference where I can. And that's how you should look at life. You look at your strengths and your weaknesses and how can you, 40 chess someone out of their win. And that is shit talking, get in their fucking head, make them feel little, and make them fuck up when they shoot so that when you go shoot and you're good at tuning their fucking small voice out of your head, you're gonna beat them.
You can tickle them, but with in their mind.
And it's and my favorite. It's like when I finish my course of fire, and fucking Jay's like, "All right, you passed, dude. You got fucking first pass out of this group, dude." And I'm just walking back, like, "How'd you do, bro?" I was like, "Oh, I passed." Yeah, like fuming, and they ran it 2 more times. And I was like, "Fuck this gun! The fuck! I should have shot a Glock." It's like, okay, make excuses for the fact that you're ass with a gun. Like, it's fine. Like, but he's gonna listen to this podcast.
And not the arrow, man.
He's gonna listen to this podcast and like want to fight me. But Pete,
He's
I
gonna
love
not
you.
like me because of this podcast.
No, but he's also gonna laugh at all your snub comments about my athleticism.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, no, so it's fine. Like, oh yeah,
technically.
fucking John called you fat, bro. Like, and that. It's funny you say that. It's I've had comments where like dudes on Instagram are like, "Oh, you're fucking fat, bro," or "Oh my god, I need to like I'm gonna censor myself." But there's so I had a really strong relationship with CZ for a long time. So I had the first like one of the first like Bren 2 5.56 machine guns in the United States, and I had the first review on YouTube, and it's got I don't know 1 million views or whatever now. And one of the first comments that came out was, "Look at this fat beep," like you know the F word that's not fuck. And you're like, why isn't this Larry Vickers or Kyle Lamb reviewing this gun? Why isn't this dude? You know, and I'm just like, damn guys, like I'll outshoot the fuck out of you. Like,
hey, Larry's fat too.
like, but it was like, who's this tattooed fucking loser? I'm like, all right, cool, bro. Like, Larry's dying.
The internet will always internet, man. That's why, like, when people put stupid comments like that, like I remember somebody commented on a video and they were like, "This music is trash." I'm like, okay.
That's what you got out of this? Neat. Or like when you have YouTube videos that are like 10 years old and they're like, "That's not how this gun is made." Da, 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 da. And you're like, well, yes, there's a Gen 2 frame since this gun was released. This is no longer an issue. Did you look at the timestamp? The fucking video is 8 years old, you fucking moron. And they're like,
I've had that before. A few ones, like I have a video on like installing an RMR, and it's like on it. I think it was like 7 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that. I'm like, this thing's old as hell, dude. Like, it's like, wow. I know it's different now. And yeah, Vibratite didn't exist. Like, it wasn't around. So it was funny.
And it happens daily, and it's fun. It's, my response is, "What do you do?" question mark, and there's never an answer. But anyway, we're going down this weird rabbit hole. We're gonna wrap this up because I feel like we can just like fucking snowball effect any topic. And for people listening, it's like the first time I'm like talking to John other than through text or DM.
We've never actually spoken.
Yeah, we've never spoken, guys, but I think this went well. I'm happy
good conversations.
With it. Yeah. We could do a part 2 at some point. Because I'm sure now that I have notes, so I can cross review this and just be like, all right, let's talk about like other shit. Like,
let's not talk about my athleticism.
Yeah, let's just keep bringing that up, John. Thanks.
It's okay. It's just more fun that way.
It's fun. No, when I see you,
listen, I like swimming, so I'm like, I'm down to like freaking clown with swimming nowadays because running has actually it's become worse and worse because my knees are getting older and older. Right, so it's actually swimming's a smarter thing. Now I'm 33.
Okay, I'm 34. So we're right in the same fucking.
So like my knees, dude. Like over the years, like I used to run a 35-minute 5 mile. Like I couldn't run a 35-minute 5 mile to save my life now. I could drive it faster though. But I could swim pretty dang good nowadays.
Even at my apex, when I was like a unit in college playing hockey, I was still doing 8-minute miles because I'm just not a fucking runner.
You're not running.
I was a hockey player. I'm a fucking sprinter.
There are those people, man.
And it is what it is. And that was me mountain biking, playing hockey, playing golf, still trying to run.
Now we only have one of those sports down here. There's no mountain biking or hockey, really.
Yeah, well, no, Tampa, but you got to be a pro. And so it's work with your strengths and build a cool team of people that you can all balance off each other. I can lift a lot of shit, really heavy shit.
I'm a mule.
I was one of those assholes in college that would max out the leg press machine with humans sitting on it and doing like 1,000-pound fucking calf raisers, but can't run. So
I remember that dude in class, in weightlifting class.
yeah,
it was cool shit too.
Yeah, I was like Vince Wilfork,
hey,
you know.
Hey, let me get another chick on here. I was like, what? He's just getting all the girls to jump on that shit. They weigh nothing.
Well, it's like Vince Wilfork from the Patriots. He was like 375, but ran a faster 50-yard than Tom Brady. You know, like it's just that's just me, guy.
You train, bro.
God, man, I mean, this podcast, people that haven't seen me that might listen, like, this guy must be a fat fuck. Like,
yeah.
Like, damn, dude.
He's not fat, guys. He's not that fat.
I'm not. Wait, not that fat. Like, okay, little bump in the middle, but it's all right. That's why I have a bodysuit of tattoos, man, because you can be as fat as you want if you have a bodysuit.
Pretty much.
Pretty much, I can do whatever the fuck I want naked.
It hides all the creases.
It gets rid of fucking stretch marks, too. You zap over like, stretch marks, you don't have them anymore.
It's like it's camouflage, bro. It takes out the outline of the human.
It looks great under night vision.
I've never looked at that, actually.
Oh no. Yeah. Hold on. I'll snap.
Is there a picture?
I will snap a photo of me butt naked through a fucking white phos 14 on a high loom night, and it looks great.
It's cool.
It does look cool. It does work.
Glow in the dark tattoos work?
I don't know. That shit's fucking lame. People that get glow.
I wonder what that would look like under night vision.
I don't know. I guess it depends how glowy it got.
How luminescent.
Yes. So anyway, John.
Sorry, man. I told you, man. I'm a weird cat. Like my brain acts a little funny.
No, it's fine. One of my best friends is a ranger. He's my tattoo artist, and he's also equally as fucked up as you. So John, Kinetic Consulting. You do Mocha Bear Actual on Instagram. This has been episode 23. We have turned into deviants. It's getting late. We've done this for fucking 2 hours, and we're gonna call it. But thank you everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. John, any last words for anyone?
Oh man, I hope to see some of you guys in classes, and I mean, fucking do better, man. Do better.
Do better.